First quarter, now we in the fourth quarter, man.
Welcome back to the fourth quarter, the future of sports business. We're making sports business mainstream. It's a new week, new show. However, you're a year older, Suraj.
Yes. I hit my Kobe year.
24.
Yes, 24 yesterday.
How do you feel?
Oh, I feel great. I feel like 23 was a very eventful year. A lot of things happened. Quit my job, building the fourth quarter full time with you.
Yeah.
24, I feel like it's going to be just as eventful a year. It's going to be, things will get even better and better.
Things are going to get better. Today is an interesting day as we're filming this because we actually have a small audience. We have Enzo, the intern, behind us. You might have seen him on our social media, who's been helping with our social media strategy. And yeah, I feel like we need to have a studio intro together. So when we hop in, when we close the show, if there's anything that we need, we always engage with producer Pablo. So Enzo, the intern, as you're watching, feel free to chime in.
Unfortunately, he doesn't have a mic.
He doesn't have a mic. He can use producer Pablo's mic if he wants. You ready?
I'm ready. What are we firing off first?
This was a clear headline story for us. There was no debate really when we were going through what we thought was going to make the docket. Providence Equity, the private equity firm with $40 billion that have been invested throughout its lifetime, has neared a deal to acquire a full 100% stake in Wasserman, the legendary talent agency that's now called The Team.
The Team, yes.
So the valuation is about $3.4 billion. The sales process launched when there was, I guess, some commotion around Jeffrey Epstein and Casey Wasserman, the founder of Wasserman. And Casey, in mid-February, said he would sell his stake. And the company since then rebranded to The Team, like we just mentioned. And then around all of that, there was buzz of the company essentially going through a sales process. Who was involved, who was going to buy. And it came out after a swirling of sharks and kind of a history of investors around the deal. Providence Equity, the 40% stakeholder.
They actually own 60%.
They own 60%.
They already had a majority stake, and I think it was Casey Wasserman. He had a 40% stake in the business.
Got it. And now they own 100%, or they're going to. The deal has not been finalized yet. It's subject to a few approvals. But here's the interesting thing, right? The Team was on track for a $215 million in adjusted EBITDA this year, and this valuation of $3.4 billion implies that there was a 15.8x multiple on EBITDA, which is insane.
Yeah, I mean, typically agency businesses, they can trade at lower multiples, but the bigger agencies that have gone through a roll-up and at the same time they dominate, certain sectors, whether it's talent on the TV and movie side, and at the same time exposure in sports and live events, which Wasserman, or now The Team, has built a strong reputation.
I feel like we got to get used to saying The Team, right?
The Team. So we've actually, in our second show, we talked about when they first rebranded, and I wasn't a fan of it. But
the logo was pretty bad.
The logo was pretty bad. It looked kind of AI generated. But The Team, I mean, they've been making a lot of moves in the sports space. They've acquired 3 companies like People of Sport, GG11, and at the same time a creator golf agency.
Yep.
So they're moving more into that. And at the same time, they went from there were $900 million in revenue in 2024, and I think their EBITDA margin was around 18%, so around 150, 160. So they're growing in cash flow every single year, and I think that's why it was such a big price tag. When Wall Street Journal and Forbes had him at $2 billion, when Casey had just announced that he was going to sell his stake. So big bump up from that timeline.
So talent agencies have been having their moment right now. Right? A few months ago, we had Goldman Sachs acquire a majority stake at $1 billion valuation into XL Sports Management, kind of the sports management firm and talent management firm that houses over $700 million in athlete contracts, including Tiger Woods and a few other mega heavy hitters. So you're seeing this Wall Street emergence and convergence into the talent agency world, which I think is interesting. So why do you think agencies are structurally attractive to private equity sponsors and investors?
Yeah, so previously I was an investment banker. Actually, one of the first deals I was ever on was CAA being sold by TPG to Artemis
That's a
Group.
pretty epic first deal to be on, by the way.
Yeah, first deal. I was actually an intern, so I was like Enzo right here. Literally just on the deal. getting my first exposure into what it was like working in a sponsors group where I worked with private equity firms. At the same time, our group also did the deal with Endeavor, where Silver Lake was buying WME, which is also one of the biggest talent agencies in the world. And I think there's a few things. One, these are high cash flow generating businesses. EBITDA margins of 16-18% is actually extremely high. This isn't a software business, and also it's low capex, right? All you're really paying for is just human capital, right? It's just the agents, the assistants, et cetera. And so it doesn't require that much investment into the business. At the same time, there's a clear fragmentation in the landscape.
Yep.
Look, there's a bunch of big talent agencies, but there's also very, very small ones that, I mean, Sid and I have talked to a lot of people who run small agencies. They sell at very, very low multiples. And so you have this roll-up strategy that private equity firms can do. And we're already kind of seeing it with what Providence was doing, buying three sports agencies in the span of 3 months, in the last 3 months. And so with that, I think it creates an opportunity for private equity firms to say, hey, look, we can buy this asset, probably like, okay, even if we pay a 15, 16x multiple, we could probably boost the margins up quite a bit because we just know how to like operate and reduce costs. And then high cash flow business, pay down the debt, the classic private equity strategy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's literally almost every single talent agency now. UTA is owned primarily by EQT. Gersh, I think the fourth biggest agency in the TV and movie space. They're, I think, like 50% owned by Crestview Partners. So it's literally almost every single major talent agency that has some level of Wall Street exposure.
So two things you said. One, the roll-up and fragmentation of agents, the talent agency world, that's 100% true. Wasserman was doing this themselves, actually. In the last 2 years, they had 12 acquisitions of various things. So, they had assets from Universal Music Group, et cetera, and there was a bunch. There's like so many to name here. But they were essentially rolling up pieces to bolster their own business. And then the second is how exactly agencies cash flow and make money, right? So one, the first stream, we were, with our slew of meetings we've been having with agencies as of recently,
Yeah,
we're learning a lot too. But basically how agencies make money, stream one is they take commission on what clients earn. So think about a NFL player signed to a CAA, for example. The NFL actually is capped at 3%, but it varies league by league. The NBA has 4%, the NHL is 5%, MLB is 10%. Stream 2 is endorsements, brand deals, and non-playing income. So whatever happens off the field, so let's say this NFL player has a shoe deal that gets signed and is done through CAA. CAA gets a cut of that. Stream 3 is client-side services, kind of the B2B agency. So they work with companies, B2B, so Coca-Cola, for example, and how they can get influencers, athletes embedded into their marketing campaign activation. So they do consulting and a bunch of services and a slew of activations and service providing on that side. And then stream 4 is property side rights representation. So essentially teams, leagues, stadiums, they come to them and be like, can you guys help monetize this? So a stadium in, I don't know, Wichita, Kansas can go to an agency and essentially try to get a naming rights deal done through them. So they do a slew of stuff. This is how they cash flow money, among other things. So
yeah,
I just think it's important to know how cash comes in.
Exactly.
Agencies.
And the team, what's interesting about the team too is that they do a lot in like the live event space. So like they work with like NASCAR, for example, to help put up the brand experience and just the overall event premium hospitality experience for the Daytona 500, right?
Yeah.
They do things for the PGA Tour, the Australian Open. So that's a little bit differentiated from like a traditional talent agency that might just only work with talent. So that could mean like just representing athletes or representing TV and movie stars. Here, I feel like the team was like a full service, like entertainment consultancy, which I think could actually help boost with their multiples and, how, getting sold for 3.4 billion when they're really priced at 2, going into that process. So I think it's really interesting. It also seems just like the talent agencies are pivoting more into sports than ever before. And I think that's something that we're going to see a lot more of. And in this sales process, Goldman Sachs was actually really interested, was also in the running to buy.
That would have been wild if they owned two of them,
because
right?
I think they would have merged XL Sports and the team together. And I think that would have,
create a mega agency.
A mega agency. That's a powerhouse. It's probably like a $4 to $5 billion company where they have significant exposure into sports, but like they would not only own the talent space because XL Sports already like is one of the biggest competitors there, but at the same time they're doing the live experience side as well, which is becoming a huge part of the sports business landscape.
Well, one can only imagine what that would look like, right? That's insane. But anyway, moving on to our talent portal, essentially our new segment where we cover not the money, but where the people in sports business are moving. So first up, we have Brendan Donahue. He was the former managing partner of Elevate Talent, leading their talent practice, and he just became the president of flag football of Tomorrow Sports' and NFL's new league. The NFL announced a partnership with Tomorrow Sports, which is the company that Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods have built, a sports technology holding company behind TGL and now Flag Football League. So now Brendan, is leading a lot of that for this new league.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what happens.
Huge initiative. And also they raised over $100 million in capital to build out this flag football, new league fully. I think this is going to be a pretty awesome, but at the same time, it's going to be a daunting task to make flag football, a popular sport.
I mean, it's
in the
backed
US.
by the 32 teams,
32
right?
equity.
$32 million in
There was
equity.
Dynasty Equities, Silver Lake were
It was a
also
party
big
round. We
trend
covered
investors.
this, right?
Yeah, we covered this. So it'll be exciting. This is going to be obviously a huge initiative. So Brendan, you're going to make a huge name for yourself in this initiative. So congratulations.
Congrats, Brendan. And never before in our talent portal has the second ever talent announcement been a successor. So our friend Scott Gilly at Elevate Talent was a senior partner, and he just got a huge promotion to become the EVP and managing partner of Elevate Talent, succeeding Brendan Donahue, who just became the president of Tomorrow Sports, like we just said. So Scott, congrats. We caught up with Scott over coffee a few weeks ago. So,
yeah, we met him at the Proskauer and Rose Drake Star event. That was pretty awesome.
So we'll have to congratulate him in person next time we see him.
Absolutely.
Congrats, Scott. Moving on, we have Fred Mangione, who became the CEO of Charlotte Knight Enterprises, which is the commercial arm of Rutgers University and Rutgers Athletics, the college based in New Jersey. I guess it's not here because we're on the other side of the Hudson. But Fred was the former CBO, Chief Business Officer of the NYNJ World Cup Host Committee. It's cool to see the transition from the host committees to where they end up going. So congrats to him. He is going to be leading a lot of multimedia rights, corporate partnerships, ticketing, premium hospitality, and NIL initiatives for Rutgers. So excited to see what happens. John Gerba, the Deputy General Counsel of the NHLPA, just became the official General Counsel of the NHLPA. He played a key role in negotiating both the 2020 and 2026 collective bargaining agreements. So now he is at the helm. Congrats to John. And lastly, we have to cap it off with our friend Jack Kingsley, who was the COO at gaming startup Rival, and he just became the VP and Chief of Staff for Pro Paddle League. Jack, for the people that don't know, he was one of our
early guests.
When
we used to do our Grainy Zoom podcast.
Now we have a show.
Now we have a full-blown
when it was
show.
a podcast.
So,
right?
At some point it'd be good. It would be kind of a full circle moment when Jack at some point comes on the show.
Yeah. When we do a live show, PPL
or something.
Yeah.
But Jack is a great guy. He was an early follower of the fourth quarter.
He started a company called Shake that ended up being acquired by Rival, which has then kicked off and
that's what our podcast is about.
Yeah.
We were covering that acquire.
Exactly. So congrats to everyone, and that's all you need to know for this week regarding the people within the talent portal of where they're going and where they're influencing the business world. Okay, so this is the cultural sports headline.
Cultural zeitgeist.
I think this is clearly the cultural sports headline. There's no other thing that could have rivaled this week. So LeBron James joined the Philadelphia 76ers. He joined them on a 2-year, $8 million deal, and he called it the last decision. And he said he was strongly considering retirement before this, right? And and it's his 24th NBA season. He turns 42 in December. He beat the previous longevity record of 22 years played in the NBA. Okay, and this is why it's in the cultural sports headline. We're not just making an announcement and recapping.
You've already seen Shams break the news.
Exactly.
You've seen it on ESPN. You've seen it on First Things
So
First.
the Boyd Company, it's a research service company, projects $250 million to $430 million in regional economic activity as a byproduct of LeBron signing with Philadelphia.
And I think that's just the first season.
just the first
It's
season.
just the first season. So like they're projecting all this economic activity. A lot of it is based on media attention, fan engagement, tourism. I think there's gonna be a lot of travel within the city just to see LeBron play because there's already this hype, and we've talked to friends who literally have traveled to LA when LeBron broke the record for the most points when he beat Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record. People are gonna want to see LeBron's maybe last game at versus their favorite team, right? Or maybe his last game ever, right? So you're going to see, I think, a lot of boost in tourism in the city to see LeBron play. I also think that jersey sales are going to go through the roof.
So shout out Fanatics and that because the Knicks drove them $100 million hot market when they won the World Series. I wonder what the number. I'm sure Fanatics already has the numbers for LeBron jersey sales. Now,
I think LeBron's new number 23 Sixers jersey is going to be the most sold jersey this year for sure.
Really?
I think so.
Yeah, maybe because it is his last
It's usually
year,
someone
right?
who's a a marquee free agent who joins another team. They're usually like the number one selling jersey. So like people are saying Giannis Heat jersey is going to be number one, but there's no way it beats LeBron.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is the last cool piece of this that I wanted to talk about. So the cheapest tick pick listing for the October 16th preseason home game hit $283. Okay, just a preseason game.
Yeah,
it's a 316% increase over the $68 average price of a Sixers regular season home game last season. So I think this is like the byproduct of having superstars on your team. You're organically seeing a lift in ticket prices. So it's just, I mean, we saw the Jaylen Brown trade from the Boston Celtics to Philadelphia was supposedly had some private equity influence in it. So I think we'll start seeing as private equity starts coming into these teams and leagues and you start seeing super teams forming and these mega players moving teams, ticket prices rising, you'll start seeing a bunch of different things that are, influencing each other and factors that, are driving different revenue results.
And the last thing I want to say is that Sixers actually, so I looked at their average get-in ticket price on StubHub, so not on TickPick. It was $31.70 in 2025, number 25 out of 30 in the league. So their ticket price will see a massive boost coming up into this season. And at the same time, it's a 50x return just on the first season alone for the city of Philadelphia. Think about it. LeBron is only getting paid $8 million.
So ticket scalpers are up right now is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Right?
The city of Philadelphia is literally up. They got the bargain of a lifetime.
I'm glad how you organically chose a different ticketing platform to do the research on me. That's good. I like that. All right. Team and league news. I'm ripping through this. Chime in wherever you need to. We have a big docket today. Everyone from Jeff Bezos.
Yes.
Jeff Bezos has been around the sports ownership talk and discussion for a while, but Jeff Bezos, Mark Cuban, and an Abu Dhabi-based investment fund are all made headlines for team and league news. So consortium of investors led by Amit Bhatia made a provisional offer of $1.8 billion for a 30% stake in the legendary football franchise Liverpool, valuing the club at nearly $6 billion. And Bezos has supposedly been approached to be a part of this consortium. So if you don't know, because I didn't know, Amit Bhatia is a 46-year-old British Indian entrepreneur with an investment banking background. And this is where I think it's super interesting, right? So he runs a asset management firm called AYB Capital, and is married to Venetia Mittal Bhatia, who is the daughter of Lakshmi Mittal, who, if you've been paying attention to the sports ownership space, the Mittal family has been in almost every discussion as of recent.
They were the competing bidder against Vinod Khosla for the Seahawks.
Yep. They also had a minority stake as a part of the recent Boston Celtics deal, and they also just bought the Rajasthan Royals.
Yeah, they're going on an
team,
absolute sports tear.
So, yeah, this is going wild. It'll see... And Enzo the intern already dropping waters. This is crazy. I guess he was very excited about that.
No,
but,
that was all producer Pablo.
Oh, that was producer Pablo? Okay, all right. Way to take step up for that. I guess you were excited, producer Pablo. But yeah, Bezos' track record has been insane, right? He was associated with the Washington Commanders 2023 ownership bid, the Seattle Seahawks as of recent before Vinod Khosla swooped in.
It's a lot of rumors and just kind of reporting or assumptions given that like he's based in Seattle or like was originally based in Seattle. And so if that's the case, he's going to buy the Seahawks. When in reality, I feel like he's never been like super down to just like splash like billions of dollars for a sports team. But I think for this one, it's a minority stake. I think it's a 30% stake in Liverpool. I think for him, he wants exposure to a sports asset, but probably doesn't want to be managing the sports asset.
Yeah.
So I think this is like the perfect in between.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on, Mark Cuban is the general partner and president of the Atlanta-based sports investment fund Harbinger Sports Partners, and they just bought a minority stake in an MLB team, the Athletics, as they move to Las Vegas, the Las Vegas A's, the Athletics. Are they the same thing essentially?
They're essentially the same thing. I think that they had to drop Oakland from the name, like officially, because they're playing in West Sacramento right now. And like they're transitioning to Vegas as like the stadium is being built. So I guess they're just called the A's for now.
Okay. Well, if they officially start playing in Vegas in 2028, and Forbes values the A's at $2 billion, which puts them at 18th out of all 30 MLB teams in terms of valuation, which is pretty interesting. So there hasn't been any reported numbers or official numbers, but some say it might be around $50 million. Neither the club or Harbinger has confirmed what that investment looks like or how much that is. But what we do know is that it's the first deal that was deployed out of Harbinger Sports Fund, and they targeted a $750 million total raise. We've been covering this the whole time since the first announcement, and per its release, supposedly they raised more than $460 million in less than 6 months.
Yeah, it helps to have Mark Cuban as your general partner.
100%.
Obviously had an insane amount of experience in the sports space owning the Dallas Mavericks. I think that this is a great investment, actually. And I'll get into the details, but one thing that I do want to mention, they technically cannot be called the Las Vegas A's. I was just reading about this last night because they couldn't get the trademark. So I guess we actually the patent office was like, you can't be calling yourself the Las Vegas Athletics just yet because it's too generic.
Wow.
So maybe there might be a name change if they can't get the patent, but I think this is a great move because you want to.
What would you change it to?
Oh.
The Jokers would be kind of cool.
Las Vegas Jokers.
Yeah.
I don't like Jokers though because it's
well, something around cards like Jack.
That's a consortium for the NBA.
Jay
team.
Williams.
Jay Williams is
Kings. That's a nice one. I mean, they have the Golden Knights, right?
Las Vegas Kings could be pretty good actually.
Yeah,
I like that. But no, so I think like this is a great investment for a couple of reasons. One, we've already seen the track record of sports teams that have moved to Vegas and what that's
Ace
done.
Is another good one. Sorry.
Las Vegas. Yeah, but that's already a WNBA team. Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
So the Las Vegas, or buying into a Las Vegas franchise right before they're transitioning to the city is actually the perfect time to buy, because what we've seen is that teams that have transitioned to Vegas have actually seen a significant valuation uplift. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's significant tourism that's driven around sports within Vegas. Obviously, you have premium hospitality, hotels, and casinos that can be built around the stadium. Mixed-use investment has skyrocketed. We were seeing this already with the Las Vegas A's. Bally's, one of the biggest casino operators in the world, is actually building, I think it's a 30,000 acre development around the stadium. So if that's the case, sorry, not 30,000 acres. That's insane. That's insane amount of money. 35 acre or insane amount of land. It's 35 acres of mixed-use real estate, which will include casinos, hotels, and entertainment. And so we've already seen this playbook roll out in Vegas, where the Raiders, when they first moved to Vegas, they were worth $3.1 billion in 2020. Now, the recent valuation based on a minority stake acquisition by Ari Emanuel and Egon Durbin values the franchise at $9.3 billion. So it's a 3x uplift in the span of 6 years. We saw this with the Golden Knights. It was a $500 million expansion fee. This was back in 2018. Now they're worth over $2 billion. And I can see this with the Athletics, right? Right now they're valued around $2 billion, but you could see a significant valuation uplift given that they were in a very, I would say a declining city in Oakland. And at the same time, there's no opportunity to build out real estate development around the city. And here it's like if you move to Vegas, you already have that development going on with Bally's. So I think that there's going to be a significant valuation uplift, and getting in before they go to Vegas is the perfect time.
Yeah, completely agree. And the last thing, we said this would be quick, but that was a pretty good analysis, honestly, so I had to let it ride. But the last piece of our team and league news is that Red Bull turned down a $3 billion bid to buy Red Bull Racing, and they were approached by a U.S.-based investor named Dean Attu and a financier, Andrew Harriet, and they were backed by several Abu Dhabi-based investment funds. So Attu has been described as a former advisor to Bernie Ecclestone, who was involved in the commercial discussions and acquiring the commercial rights to F1 before Liberty Media in 2016 bought out Formula One in total. And it marks the latest in a string of attempts to buy Red Bull Racing from international buyers. So supposedly Red Bull turned down multiple offers north of $2 billion last year. And now they just added another one that they've turned down. So I wonder at what price. Maybe it has to be 3, maybe it's 4. I don't know if they'll ever sell. Like, it's such a marquee. It's the most probably, recognized F1 team ever, right?
So it's their secondary team. So like
Red Bull Racing Bulls.
Red Bull Racing Bulls. So
But I'm
the
talking about the
valuations
racing,
just
Red Bull
F1
Racing
overall.
in general is just
Exactly.
like they have like the marquee, Max Verstappen and their entire team, and then you have it's the second franchise, right?
Yeah.
Or second team.
So I would
that
say
how it
like
works?
it's the second team. It's weird because there's only 11 teams and Red Bull has 2 of them. And Racing Bulls, the valuation of $3 billion is actually pretty close to Red Bull's main team, which is $4.3 billion. Obviously, I think people would pay like a significant price if there's a bidding war that happens. But I think Red Bull is so strategic with this because they're probably like, we are never going to sell because they have an unfair advantage in the setup having another team, right? Because now all of their employees have some level of consolidation and malleability where if they have a star engineer that's coming up from the Racing Bulls team, they can immediately
Pull
upgrade
them
him to the main team.
Exactly.
Right? And so there's actually been a lot of discussion and discourse where we saw, I believe it was, Zach Brown, the chief executive of McLaren Racing. He's been a longstanding critic of Red Bull having 2 teams. So that's why there's a lot of like investor pressure or investor and operating pressure for Red Bull to sell their second development team. But I think they're just like refusing to give up the asset because it's so strategic for them. Why would they do that? So I think probably long term, because there's only 11 racing teams, they can't expand like the NBA or the NFL or the MLB because the track is just not big enough to hold 12, 13 cars. So if that's the case, I think at some point in time, the F1 holding company or just Formula One in general may force a sale of Racing Bulls. But until then, I don't see Red Bull giving up this asset.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's their most iconic franchise in F1. Why would they give up what has continued to make them as great as they are? So
Right.
makes sense. You said you were going to cover sports real estate. You want to kick us off this topic? Kick off this topic for us today?
Yes. So we're going to talk about Portland Trailblazers. There's actually a huge legal dispute that's going on, or I would say financial dispute that's going on around renovations of their arena. So the Trailblazers and Portland city leaders are increasingly at odds on who should pay for a proposed $600 million renovation of Moda Center. So for those who don't know about Moda Center's background, it's actually 31 years old and it's a publicly owned arena. So the city owns the venue, but it's the Blazers who operate it through Rip City Management.
It's actually the NBA's oldest arena, by the way.
Yeah, so I guess it's due for a renovation. And so the current conflict is that there's a new Portland Trail Blazers owner, Tom Dundon. He bought the franchise for $4 billion, actually just this year, and it just closed, I believe, a couple months ago. But he does not want to provide direct private financing for the renovation. And his argument is that he's already making a meaningful investment, keeping the team in Portland and paying local tax rates. And despite not owning the arena real estate, right? It's like, if I don't own the property, I'm already paying super high tax rates to just own this franchise. It doesn't make sense for me to continually put private investment if I don't get the benefits from it. So he actually was at the city council meeting and he said, it feels like we're making a pretty big investment by staying here and paying these tax rates, like pretty savage. But Tom Dundon is like, I mean, that's the type of owner that he's presented himself is like, hey, like cutthroat, we're going to get it done this way. And I know how to operate a sports team because he does, to be honest. They just won, Carolina Hurricanes just won the NHL so this year. So right now, the current funding plan is that the state of Oregon has already agreed to pay up to $365 million.
Yep.
Multnomah County has paid around $88 million. But the city of Portland right now are deciding whether they want to finance $120 million for this arena. But right now they need city council approval. And Portland mayor is trying to pressure city council to make this decision happen. They're supporting the funding plan because at the end of the day, they want to make sure that the Blazers are in the city. And at the same time, they're due for renovation. And what his argument is probably is that, look, we have such a marquee franchise. Why not we get the renovations? And at the same time, we own the venue, so it's beneficial for us. But city council right now is having a hard time doing this because they don't want to put this burden on taxpayers. And so they had this term sheet where there's a $3 million annual payment tied to a property tax offset that the Blazers franchise would have to pay, a 20-year lease, and at the same time, a labor harmony agreement, which would lead to unionization of the arena and the jobs around the arena. And the Blazers immediately rejected it and are essentially playing hardball. So right now there's kind of the standoff where the mayor wants to help the Blazers. The Blazers are not going to provide private financing, and the city council is also playing hardball. So we're at this standstill that even Adam Silver has said that, like, he came out and said, yeah, this whole deal has gone it's gone out of sorts. It's gone off track. So the vote is currently slated for August 12th. So we'll be keeping tabs on what actually ends up happening, whether they're going to come to an agreement or not. But I think long term, I think the city is going to fold because at the end of the day, it's extremely important to making sure that you keep your beloved franchise within your city and at the same time build strong relationships with the team owner, even if the team owner plays hardball.
Completely agree. We'll keep close tabs on it.
Yeah, August 12th. We'll have the update.
100%. Put a pin in it. August 12th. Does that land on one of our filming days?
Not sure. I'm not honestly. I haven't looked that far ahead yet.
Regardless, we'll cover it. All right, moving on to the world of M&A and investments. The company that I feel like we organically always have been talking about in the last couple episodes because they just keep making moves. They're relentless. It's actually very impressive. So Fanatics is making another move within the sports ecosystem. This past week, Michael Rubin's company agreed to buy a federally regulated exchange and a clearinghouse from BGC Group, two entities called Water Street Labs and CX Clearinghouse. So with this, essentially Fanatics can now write the market, they can list the market, and clear the market itself. So no price has been disclosed around the deal. And here's what most people have not talked about and are missing. So the exchange got its CFTC license 11 days ago, which is wild. So it's as soon as they got it, the acquisition went through. So I guess they were looking at this for a while.
Yeah.
As soon as
that's the strategy nowadays. It's like if you can get CFTC license for a prediction market, like sell immediately because like your valuation just probably like 2-3x's.
Exactly. So for the people that don't know, and just kind of like simplifying what exactly this is. So Fanatics launched a prediction markets concept business within its holding company and under its holding company called Fanatics Markets through Paragon Global Markets, right? So essentially an exchange matches the buyers and sellers. A clearinghouse makes sure the loser actually pays. That's why they acquired these two assets. And Fanatics operates the customer-facing side of Fanatics Markets, or they used to, right? And now they own the full stack. So producer probably going to have to throw up this graphic that I cooked up here, but it shows it pretty clearly because I learned a lot throughout this process. So there's one called an introducing broker. That's essentially the storefront or how you and I would engage with a prediction market or Fanatics' prediction market. There's the futures commission merchant. So basically where they hold cash and the carries account. So they own those two. This is what's new and what Fanatics is getting through this. So a DCM, a designated contract maker, right? So this is Water Street Labs, essentially gets to show that it's the marketplace and the actual exchange mechanics. And then they also get a DCO, which is a derivatives clearing organization. So essentially guarantees the payout. I think it's super interesting. So why I think this deal in particular is very unique when I was covering this is that BGC is very, very interesting. They're a publicly traded company and they've historically been a middleman for Wall Street, right? So they're what's called an interdealer broker, where big banks, let's say they want to buy $500 million or something from another big bank. They don't call each other directly. They go through a firm like BGC, which matches the two sides and takes a cut. So fixed income, foreign exchange, energy, commodities, shipping, you name it. It's boring. It's invisible. It's gigantic. They've done $2.9 billion in revenue last year. and which is up 30%. And the brokerage makes up over 90% of that. So that's very handsome of an amount. But this finance firm, this background stealth picks and shovels firm, actually has a background in entertainment. So Cantor Fitzgerald was what the exchange was originally named in 2010. Okay. And it pursued real money box office futures, essentially allowing people to bet or predict how much an upcoming movie release was going to make and how well it was going to do. So how this happened was Cantor Fitzgerald bought a website called the Hollywood Stock Exchange, and it was a free online game that allowed people to trade fake shares in movies using play money. And it got killed immediately when they tried to actually turn this into a financial product when Congress passed a law making betting on movie-based stuff illegal. So it was super interesting to see that they built this product, they had this background in entertainment, and they sat on it for a while. And 16 years later, now they have a entertainment-based use case for it.
That's really interesting. And also, just for clarification, I think BGC was a part of Cantor Fitzgerald, which is like the massive financial.
Yes.
I think Howard Lutnick, who's he was the former CEO of it.
And he was the CEO and chairman of BGC.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So they separated, and then they did the Hollywood Stock Exchange, which you were just...
They tried to.
Yeah. I think this is a really interesting acquisition. All I have to say is that it makes sense because Fanatics doesn't want any middleman involved in their prediction markets front, right? A lot of them, like for example, and we're going to talk about this later during the AP prediction market segment, but like FanDuel, for example, has to partner with financial exchange CME in order to build out their FanDuel Predicts app, right? I believe when Fanatics launched their prediction markets, they're doing it with Crypto.com. Mm-hmm. So I think with this acquisition, they probably don't need a middleman like Crypto.com to operate their prediction market rails.
100%. We scavenged for this next section. Okay. We thought we were going to break our streak. Are we at 19?
Well, this would be 19 technically.
This is 19 technically. We're going to count it. New fund alert. 19 straight weeks of new sports and entertainment funds announced. This one we're going to kind of count because he's in the sports space. He's made sports investments. We covered his VC fundraise, anti-fund, just a few weeks ago in another new fund alert section. But Jake Paul, the 29-year-old boxer, internet influencer, and businessman, just launched his own family office that made headlines. So essentially, for those of you that don't know, obviously you know, but for the people that don't know, family office is a private company whose only client is you and your family. So you hire a CEO, maybe a CIO, a chief investment officer, a controller, an accountant, and they run investments, taxes, estate planning, entity structuring, and they only serve to protect and grow the wealth of that family, right? So Jake Paul just did this, and it's really interesting because we know, the public knows at least, a lot of his different business ventures, and now they're being folded up into this one family office. So Anti-Fund, which is his venture capital fund with $180 million assets under management, is going to be one part of his family office. The second is Better, which is the sports prediction markets platform that he built with Joey Levy. Third is Paul Reserve. This is his nearly 6,000 acre Georgia property that he bought for $39 million. And he's done a bunch of YouTube videos on this. He's creating a huge compound. It's honestly insane. MVP, which is Most Valuable Promotions, which is his promotion business, I guess, for his boxing.
Yeah, they host some of the biggest boxing events that have happened in the past couple of years. And it used to be just Jake Paul fighting other boxers, like big boxers, like Mike Tyson, for example, or like if y'all remember Jake Paul fighting Tommy Fury, those were all promoted or built from MVP.
Yep, exactly. Most Valuable Promotions. And then W, which is his mass market personal care deodorant and kind of like beauty. Is it beauty? Men's beauty? Men's care? Men's care
lifestyle,
product? Men's lifestyle care product that's sold on Amazon, Walmart. So they're a slew of different things. It's very interesting, though. So he hired a Wall Street turned Dallas finance CEO. Essentially, her name was Laura Brady. She previously worked for Thrive Wealth Management and Strive. So Strive is Vivek Ramaswamy's asset management firm. So she has a wealth of experience no pun intended, in the world of, managing and growing money and making interesting investments. So Jake himself said this structure is going to be a little unusual. He wants his family office to be able to basically incubate and build businesses within it himself. So
which is very different from traditional family offices where you're just allocating capital rather than
you're just
developing
investing.
products.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think this is really interesting. I'm excited to see what else he pulls out and builds within this structure.
Yeah, so I think that's the only reason why it's a new fun to learn in the sports space, because we don't know what he's going to incubate, and I guarantee you one of them is going to be related in the sports media entertainment space. The second thing that I wanted to ask you is that apparently his personal wealth was like tied to like around $200 million. I think he's in his early 30s. Do you think at some point
he's 29, I think.
Or he's 29?
Yeah.
Okay, so 29. I think Logan might be early.
Yeah, Logan's older.
So Jake is 29 years old. He's worth $200 million plus. Do you think at some point he buys a minority stake in a sports team, or even buys a full-blown sports team through his family office? And when do you think it's going to happen?
I think it's a matter of time. And he has all the smart people around him, Jeff Wu, Anti-Fund, right? Let's just take, first of all, he's already made sports investments, so he knows the space really well. Let's say the second thing here is, let's take the Jared Kushner approach, where they're making
Josh Kushner
approach. I keep mixing them up. That's the second time you've corrected me on that. But Josh Kushner and Thrive Capital, what they do is they made a bunch of AI bets, and now they've launched Thrive Eternal, which is their their permanent capital vehicle, essentially, where they've bought a stake in the San Francisco Giants MLB team, and they're looking at a potential majority stake for the new Las Vegas expansion team. Anybody that's making these bets, it's the barbell effect. They want to make outsized return bets in the AI space. And then how do you de-risk that? You make prolific, exclusive investments in
sports
because they're the last hedge against AI. So I think it's a matter of time. In terms of time, I think within 5 years.
Within 5 years?
Yeah.
I think within 5 years, minority stake. I think long term,
Yes, minority stake.
In his 40s, I could see him like leading a consortium to buy a sports team if that was of interest to him, or he just runs his own boxing league. That's what I forecast, or that's what I predict.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think a sports team would be crazy because he's from Cleveland, right? It'd be awesome if he went back somehow and got involved with the Cavaliers or the Browns or something.
Yeah, maybe a minority stake, but those are like some super expensive assets.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
but
I don't know. I mean, maybe
the way he's moving, though, he might be able to amass some capital, right?
He might be able to.
All right, moving on to the emerging league news section. This one was really interesting to see because I sent it to you immediately. So
and it hits close to home.
Hits very close to home. International Dance League, the professional dance league that raised $7 million to essentially turn dance into a competitive sports league, has just made a deal to become a partner and stream across ESPN, and specifically ESPN2. So yesterday, International Dance League, a 14-year-old month startup based out of LA, 6 teams, $7 million in seed funding from the LA Dodgers Elysian Park venture arm, announced a global rights deal with ESPN. They have 4 announced telecasts. So they have New York, which is today, actually, Vancouver, August 10th, Sydney, and Seoul, all 7 p.m. ET on ESPN2. Already a global reach. They are distributing internationally through ESPN and Disney Plus in Australia and New Zealand, and Disney Plus only in South America and the Philippines, and Asia as well. But this is IDL's first ever dance league, or first ever media rights deal, and they made 650 million in views this year. Just in this year, they started last year. We went to the New York one. It was insane. You and I could not stop talking about it. One of our videos went viral on IDL just because we were so passionate about what we saw and what the potential of this could become. And other
a lot
people
of people
agreed with it.
Agreed with it. Also, they were like, whoa, like, I didn't even know that there's a dancing league that was popping off like this, that's raised institutional venture capital to build this up into something that goes international, that becomes something very big. So I'm super pumped for their team to close this deal and get their first, major media rights partnership with an ESPN. obviously ESPN too, but I do think that there's real potential for this to hit mainstream because, like we talked about, dance is one of the biggest sports in the world. A lot of people just don't consider it in the sports category, but if you do, it's just so massive. And the actual dances, it's very much like hip hop focus, are insane. Like the amount of acrobatic movements that you need, it's very athletic and like it's
The
honestly mind-blowing.
choreography,
Yeah,
they have numbers, they have post-performance recaps.
it feels like a concert because given the music is just absolutely pumping. Like
concert meets performance, theatrics meets sports league. It's awesome. I'm very bullish on this space.
yeah,
And
and I think they need some level just to broaden reach. I think people just don't know what this is yet. And
I actually think
so-
it will do really well on ESPN,
ESPN
too.
because I think there's people like, okay, I'm looking for just some level of like new league, new sports to watch, especially during the summer, right? Because it's from July to August where all of them are happening. That's where real discovery happens. And I think
It's prime window for when there's not major sports leagues
Sports,
that are,
exactly.
that are playing. So I think it's really interesting. So shout out to Evan and Connor. We're big fans. We're looking forward to the next time we're there and looking forward to helping you guys anyway. All right, moving on to our industry spotlight. This one was pretty cool. We had to give it to Sophie Cunningham, who seems to be the darling child of the WNBA right now. Adidas announced the Crazy Energy Sophie Cunningham player exclusive shoes this past week, and they sold out within minutes. So Cunningham posted a video of herself in a unmarked car full of Vans, or full of a van full of her sneakers, captioning it, "Today's the day. Who's ready for the drop?" So most people didn't know what they were talking about, but they teased this a few days prior, saying that Sophie might be getting some shoes, and it drew over 500,000 views across Instagram and X. Within 3 hours, it drew all that attention, and then when it finally dropped, within minutes, most men's and women's sizes were sold out. They actually look very clean. Producer probably gonna have to throw up a picture here. The pink I think is really cool. That's what I like.
That's the one that I think
That's
sold out. Yeah.
more than the other colors. But I think it's super interesting. But she's been on a viral campaign. She was a ring girl for the UFC White House card. I don't know if you saw that. And she was obviously
Also, she has the like famous celebration where she like points at someone.
pointing. Well, it was
And
not.
people are-
Yes, it
It's
wasn't a
not
celebration.
but it was like a.
It turned into like
it was
a meme.
taunt. It was like a taunt, right?
Yeah,
Something
taunt. It
like
turned
that.
into like an internet meme. So it's funny. I have a stat around this, right? Front Office Sports covered this, but in the 30 days after the Dawana Bonner pointing incident, that's who she pointed at. So Sophie Cunningham gained more than 1 million followers on both Instagram and TikTok, and in that same time, Caitlin Clark gained 160,000 on Instagram. Paige Buckers gained 8,500. Beckers gained 8,500, and Angel Reese lost 3,000. Okay, so this is like an astronomical jump that she just made. And Sophie Cunningham sits at 2.6 million followers on Instagram, but her engagement rate is higher than most other WNBA players, which I think is super interesting. And then Google search results for Sophie Cunningham are up 130% year over year.
Yeah, perfect time to have a shoe drop.
And 2 of the 5 best-selling WNBA jerseys on the WNBA official storefront are hers.
Wow, that's actually
crazy.
Wild. Yeah, she's like absolutely popping off on like all accounts. And I think it's also like her doing some level of like brand partnerships or doing things like
Off-court
the
stuff,
UFC,
right?
yeah, off-court stuff that I think a lot of people are just tuning into or just like is captured in the cultural zeitgeist of social media and sports entertainment. And so you're able to get some of that like attention real estate outside of just the court.
Do you think WNBA is structurally different where players can amass real personal wealth and stardom for things that happen off the field or off the court compared to what happens mostly in NBA where you have to be a star on the court to receive kind of all the other things that come with it?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that it's also the way it's structured too. The WNBA doesn't have as many games. So like they have a much longer off season. So if that's the case, you should be doubling down on off-season moves that you're making in order to promote your brand. That's what Angel Reese was really known for from the get-go, right? And so if that's the case, I think you have a strategic advantage, obviously, than like NBA players who might not be the star, but at the same time, like they don't get that big of an offseason, right? It's like 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
Especially if you like make it to the playoffs and go far, then it's like only 2 to 3 months. So I think that's like a big advantage that they might have. Obviously, NBA contracts are still extremely, extremely big compared to WNBA, but like I think long term, WNBA is going to continually, I think it's going to skyrocket even on the court.
100% agree. I'm just saying now seems to be
Now
a
it
white
seems,
space opportunity
exactly.
for these players to go make personal developments in their brand.
And she has her own podcast too. So
Own
like
podcast.
you should always tune
There's a
into the
bunch-
media front, build out your brand through not only just partnerships, like and sponsorships. Like you should have your own media asset or IP as well.
She's customer touch point maxing right now, where she's
Yeah.
like, maxing out all the ways that you can interact with fans and people that, want to get to know her. And she's growing her personal brand like that. So I think it's awesome. So moving on to our startups and technology section. Today we have a rebirth of a very interesting company, and you went to go see it for yourself, try it for yourself. So I only feel like it's right that you break this and you cover this piece.
Yeah. So Aescape, the one and only provider of AI massage robots, and also backed by the GOAT, Tom Brady. They've actually officially partnered with Equinox by launching Equinox exclusives. It's a slate of pre-workout and recovery massage sessions developed by its own coaches and delivered by the Aescapes. So everyone in the media thought Aescape was actually done, and they were done for it because they filed for bankruptcy. But trust me, they're so back. I was just at the offices, and I tried the Aescape massage, and it was unbelievable. Set it to athlete recovery, given that we just had a huge basketball session the day before.
But it's being led by a new CEO, Frank Britt, who you got to know pretty well, right?
Yeah, so Frank is an absolute beast. He was formerly an operating partner at Valor.
Okay.
Valor is the one who's actually a lead investor in the restructuring of the business. And so he was like, hey, look, I don't want to just be like, on the sidelines, like investing. I want to be fully operating. So now he's become the new CEO that's leading this company in this new charge to make massage and body work popularized, and at the same time a core component of data capture and your overall health and wellness. So Equinox exclusives, it's now live in 50 Equinox clubs. The program marks the first time Equinox has tied Aescape's massage technology directly to its signature classes, and the coaches are the ones who are co-creating each session. So here's everything that you can get. Precision run prep. So right before your run, you can do a 15-minute pre-run session designed to prime the body and key muscles before a workout. So instead of stretching, you can just have the Aescape robot do it for you. And post-run recovery, 30-minute session targeting the back, hips, and hamstrings. They also have other recovery sessions for different types of workouts. So they have a strength massage, a Metcon recovery, glute focus, and flow state recovery that's like for post-yoga and Pilates. So what we're seeing is that these AI-powered robotic massage that Aescape is pioneering, they are essentially curating a much more personal experience based on the types of workouts and exercises that you're doing. When I was at the office, they were very focused on how body work is an essential component to longevity, similar to how people own a Whoop. Now, people should at the same time be having consistent Aescape massages because tissue pliability and just like overall body work and flexibility is a core component to preventing yourself from getting injured, right? Which is by far a leading indicator for mortality when you're older. So if that's the case, you have this longevity approach because they're consistently capturing data on what do you like, how do you feel, what type of muscle recovery you need, etc. So I'm super excited about this. There's a lot of cool work being done. I bet Tom Brady is very involved in like the work that they're doing there because he's like a pliability guru. This is someone who's like focused on like tissue malleability and tissue stretching. That's how he's been able to play in the NFL for so long. And I feel like what he wants to do is at some point is democratize that for everyone else. And same with, Frank, who's the CEO. So really excited about this. And it seems like Equinox is just doubling down on this.
I love to see this. I thought it was a really cool product from its previous life when we even covered the business, right? Where it was AI massage robots. It was such a use case of robotics and AI. And it's cool to see that now it's going to have a continued lifeline.
Yeah.
And possibly even bigger than what it was before.
Yeah,
right?
Before they were bleeding so much cash, they raised so much money, the business model didn't make sense. But now they've like essentially made the team a lot more leaner.
They've
and a much
changed
more
the
focused
business model
approach.
as well.
Exactly.
So that they're not able to, they're getting cash up front or as close to possible instead of delaying,
Exactly. They used to lease it instead of just selling the machine outright, which is way better economically for the business.
Yep.
So because it's capital intensive. You have to build these like really expensive machines. You probably want to get cash up front as fast as possible.
Exactly. So shout out to Frank, shout out to Aescape. We're excited to figure out what else we could do to help support and continue to cover the success of the business. Cool. Moving on to our collectible section. This is very interesting. There's not really a big piece here. Producer probably going to have to throw this up because I think this is the coolest thing that I've seen in collectibles this past week. So a piece of notebook paper that was from an 18-year-old LeBron James that was thrown in a trash can in Akron, Ohio in 2003, where he was practicing his autograph, trying out versions of his own name. It's been authenticated. Somehow someone found it, first of all, from a trash can, okay? Took it out.
Well, I think they sniped it. They saw LeBron
throw it away.
Like signing some stuff.
No, and I think it was like he was throwing it away and someone like scavenged it or something like that. Yeah. Okay? Like people were crazy. I guess he had the vision. He's like, he knew this guy was going to be the GOAT. Right?
Yeah.
So it's been authenticated, slabbed, and is now owned by a company that mints celebrity coins out of silver. And then Fanatics amplified it on their own socials, framing it as LeBron practicing his signature during class before making the NBA. And one person just decided to keep it all. So there's been no sales price, no auction listing, no acquisition figure, no PSA cert number published, or no provenance chain named. And yeah, it's just not much is provided around this. I just think it's super interesting.
And provenance is like the exact, like who was the one who pulled it,
yep.
Right? And who the classmate that ended up picking it up was.
I don't know how much this would go for if someone were to even try to buy this. Like,
I think it could go for a lot. I just like the stain on the top left corner. It's just like stained and like wrinkled, but like it's cool to see like there's a story behind it. I think that's why Fanatics collects like, okay, there's a story behind him just like having random signatures on a piece of paper.
No, I guess it has been slabbed, but like and authenticated, but it's kind of crazy. Like what was the process to even authenticate that? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, okay. Well, moving on. This is we've kind of missed this segment the last couple of shows because there hasn't been really anything cool, but in cool partnership news very quickly, this is probably the most unique partnership and weirdest partnership announcement that we've seen. So the Baltimore Ravens NFL team just named Perdue the official chicken of the Baltimore Ravens. Multi-years, and the terms are undisclosed. Before you laugh, here's what the official chicken of the Baltimore Ravens actually means. So Perdue's logo goes on all the Ravens practice jerseys, which is the only piece of on-body uniform inventory that the NFL lets their teams sell. And now that slot that was previously sitting empty for the Baltimore Ravens has been filed and filled with a $9 billion chicken empire. Okay. It's a 106-year-old family-owned Maryland poultry company that's never done a deal with an NFL team, so the Ravens are the first one. Perdue chicken is going to be served throughout M&T Bank Stadium, including their Ravenous chicken box. So they have an exclusive offering and kind of product for fans to be enjoying while they watch. Perdue products are going to be used to feed Ravens players and staff at the Under Armour Performance Center. There's retail promotions, digital content, and community events, plus a bunch of fan experiences that they plan to do in the near future that'll be announced. And this is pretty interesting, right? So the kickoff donation, the leaders from Perdue and the Ravens made a donation of nearly 43,000 pounds of chicken, which equates to roughly 35,600 meals, were all volunteered alongside Maryland Food Bank staff to be given away, which I think is amazing. And they have a mechanic kind of thing here, bet mechanic kind of thing, where they have a season-long initiative called the Rushing to Fight Hunger, where Perdue will donate 1,300 meals to the Maryland Food Bank for every 100 rushing yards for Ravens gain during the 2026 NFL season. You better hope Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry just keeps chugging along, right?
Yeah. I would say this is a big win for all, lovers of chicken and Perdue and the Ravenous chicken box that's going to be sold. The Raven Stadium's big L for any vegan that's in Baltimore. But I think this is actually like a really interesting. This is what it tells me is that every single company in the world has a reason or a point of view to do a sponsorship with a sports team. Like there is some level of I don't know what the return is for this. Like how they project, like, okay, like
This is a
people
good
at the stadium
ROI.
are like, okay, like, yeah, I own a restaurant, so I'm going to buy from like Perdue chicken. Like, is that what the main strategy is?
Mm.
Do you see other like animal products that are being sponsoring sports teams? I don't know. Like, does that make sense? Like,
I don't know what it'll look like, to be honest. It's just exciting news. And all I'm going to say is the Atlanta Falcons should sign Chick-fil-A as their official chicken partner, right?
yeah, but I mean, that's
Because
like,
Chick-fil-A is
no, but they're
from
going even
Georgia.
down the stack. The Chick-fil-A, does Chick-fil-A have its own farms? Like, that's, they're
I don't
making
know,
I don't
but
think so, right? They probably like buy, I don't know. But like, that's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
they're
they
going
probably.
down, they're going deep in the
No,
agriculture
I'm just
or
saying
animal
everyone should
product
have like an
stack.
official chicken partner now, you know?
Yeah, every chicken partner have like what?
Official fish partner.
Fish
You
partner,
start
like
having crazy
fish partner in
categories,
the
right?
Northeast makes sense. Like New England Patriots should
Yeah.
have like
Official lobster partner. Yeah,
a
that
lobster
yeah,
partner would be
that
kind of
makes
interesting. Yeah.
yeah. All right, Professor Paramanu. I know you're not wearing the Professor Paramanu
Yes,
fit
I know.
today,
I have
but
to. We're gonna take a break from it for a little bit. I want to spice it up with some new
we
costumes. So
yeah.
I'll think about it more today. But yes, it is AP prediction markets, and yes, it's Professor Paramanu. Even if I'm not wearing a wig or goggles or this ridiculously annoying lab coat that's impossible to wear, I am Professor Paramanu in the flesh. And like always, like every prediction market segment, this is presented by Novig, the number one or leading sports prediction platform. They haven't launched a prediction market yet, but they've gotten CFTC approval. So in the coming weeks or coming months, we may be seeing another major sports prediction platform that's focused for the sports trader. So
Shout out Novig.
shout out Novik. We're really excited about that. So today we're going to be talking about something what we would call trouble in paradise, and it's between two major players in the prediction market space. So last December, popular sportsbook platform FanDuel and one of the biggest financial exchanges in the world, CME Group, teamed up to build their own prediction market called FanDuel Predicts, where users can place predictions on sports and other market categories that they're offering as well. And FanDuel actually allocated $250 to $300 million for this endeavor, but they only own 49% of the new entity. Actually, it's CME who owns the majority of FanDuel Predicts at 51%. Now, there's no official data released yet on how much trading volume or predictions placed on the platform, but it doesn't seem like things are going too well. And actually, recent news that Sportico announced will tell you a little bit why. So from a recent announcement, or actually a recent earnings call that CME had actually last Wednesday, I believe, CEO Terry Duffy criticized any sports-related contract on prediction markets, despite being an active participant in sports contracts via FanDuel Predicts. So, on top of that, less than 24 hours before, the CFTC certified 3 event contract types proposed by the CME that were all related to sports, trades on tennis tournaments, golf tournaments, and college football games. So Terry specifically was like criticizing parlays and affiliated market makers. Essentially, affiliated market makers are when there's not enough liquidity in a prediction market or an event. So there's just not enough money of trades being happening. The actual prediction market itself will be the other side. They'll be the market maker. And so that's the way to, hit the ground running, especially if you're new. But CME ended up kind of making a contradiction here because they're very involved in the prediction market space, yet their CEO was actively criticizing it, which obviously could cause a major strain between FanDuel and CME, who run FanDuel Predicts. And so they actually had to come out with a statement and said, we're very excited. We're still very excited about our FanDuel partnership. And it's an opportunity to get our financial market in front of their, 12 million registered U.S. users. But we also, the statement was essentially that Terry was referencing was more the individual performance combos and parlays. So that was, very much associated with FanDuel Predicts. But what it seems like is that there's a weakening relationship with CME. And now FanDuel is also brokering trades through Crypto.com's owned Nadex in addition to CME as well.
Wow.
FanDuel has also recently applied with the National Futures Association, where exchange brokers must register because they want to have their own brokerage for prediction market trades, and they can do that now without CME's involvement if National Futures Association gives them the licensing to do that. So essentially what we're seeing is that some financial exchanges, there might be some disagreements that's happening in the space, but similar to what Fanatics has done, where they've bought their own clearinghouse, and what FanDuel has done, a lot of them are just going to go fully in-house and have their own brokerage, so they don't have to rely on anyone else. Things like this, where a CEO comments and says, "Hey, look, predictions," or criticizes predictions, yet is very much involved in the prediction space, can have a lot of blowback for all these different partners that they have. And so if that's the case, a lot of people just want to own the full stack. So we're going to see a lot more of that. FanDuel will probably have its own. DraftKings has been very involved with, acquiring Railbirds. They've been trying to, own the stack as well. We're seeing Fanatics as well, and then Novik likely as well too. So it's really interesting how everything unfolds and how just statements on an earnings call can really strain a relationship between two prediction market partners.
It's so wild. Just a year and a half ago, we were seeing and we were covering all of the major headlines of like these big sports books that were doing JVs to get in the prediction market space. And now we're seeing them kind of crawl back, trying to verticalize within and stray away from these previously JVs and these partnerships prior.
Yeah.
So,
Why would you not want to own a full percentage of your market, right?
Yeah.
Like FanDuel predicts that they only own 49%. And the one who owns the majority is actively saying bad things about their own product. So if that's the case, like you're just at a significant disadvantage versus a Kalshi, a Polymarket, or now a Fanatics who owns a stack.
Yeah. Producer Pablo, did we hit it under an hour or are we right there?
Dang. Hey,
Right.
that was close though.
Good.
That was
good.
close.
All right, we got to tighten up a few things. I think we could have been faster on a few stuff, but overall, I thought it was a great episode.
Yeah, this week was jam packed
information.
with a bunch of stuff. Bezos, Mark Cuban, all making moves at the same time.
Jake Paul's family office.
the team getting sold for $3 billion. I mean, a lot of stuff happened.
Yeah, exactly. So, wouldn't want to do it with anyone else. Good show. We'll see you next week.